Hello and welcome to the final San Diego Super Bloom home game here in usually sunny San Diego, but we have a bit of the May gray for today's game and just a little bit of muggy, windy weather to get the Super Bloom up against Colorado Alpenglow, the leading team for the Northern Conference, who just earlier today technically clinched their spots in the championship weekend with the win in the earlier game going in their favor. So now they are playing for point diff, whereas San Diego Super Bloom is in this game to clinch their own spot in the championship weekend, or hoping for the later game this evening for the Arizona team to go down, and that is another way that Super Bloom can clinch their championship spot. And we got some of the stats up there on the screen for you. My apologies, Seattle is technically leading in the division for Northern Conference, with San Diego leading in the Southern Conference. I am your play-by-play commentator, Jory Moore, here with my color commentary,
Sydney Haranek.
What are you expecting from these two powerhouses when they are matching up? We have the clinical, technical San Diego Super Bloom against the talented, star-powered Colorado Alpenglow.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk about this game because it really does look like a match that will probably take place at Champ Weekend coming June 13th and 14th, so keep an eye out for that. These teams have matched up 3 times in the league history, and the record is 2-1 with Colorado leading that. So this is a time for San Diego to catch back up. Like Jory said, San Diego tends to play very methodically. They have their process, they have their system, and they follow it. You watch Colorado play, it's a bit of a different style. They have some really top-notch clutch players that they throw the ball to, and that is the way that the disc flows through that team. So you're talking Ari Nelson, Abby Thorpe, Alicia Dixon. Those players that all play club together have those really tight-knit relationships, and they work really well together. So you're seeing kind of those players in that who just run the field, whereas San Diego is a much deeper roster, I would say, and their distribution of talent is really widespread across that roster. So I think it'll be an interesting matchup. We'll see who San Diego throws on those kind of high-end players on Colorado Alpenglow. What are your thoughts, Jory?
Yeah, defensively looking here to see how San Diego Super Bloom, what their strategy is for shutting down the massive throws and decisive cutters on the Colorado Alpenglow's offensive side. Also, how are they going to stay clinical, stay technical in their offense against some of the top-notch defensive players in the league on Alpenglow? So it is going to be a game of big matchups as we see the depth of San Diego Super Bloom against the talent and grit of Colorado Alpenglow. So excited to see how individual matchups look, as well as the team strats facing off against each other.
I was just going to say, I think that's a great way to put it. I would just like to point out both these teams have lost the Bay now by 3. So it's kind of interesting to now see them matched up here together. And both of them have recently beaten Seattle Tempest. So also another interesting fact. And both have done it with really different play styles.
Yeah, that is an interesting matching stat across these two teams who have such a different style on the field. And so it's just another preview of what the different kind of matchups could be for championship weekend, as, again, Colorado Alpenglow is secured in their spot for championship weekend with Seattle's win over the Bay. Or not over the Bay, over Oregon. Sorry about that. Over Oregon earlier today. And so we have 2 of the Northern Conference spots. Those are filled. Those are ready going into championship weekend. And then we have Super Bloom here fighting for their spot, looking to get it secured in this game, if not in this game, looking for the Falcons to win over the Arizona Sidewinders in the game that is later this evening. And looking ahead to championship weekend, which is going to be, I believe, in Oregon on the weekend of June 13th and 14th, we're definitely hoping to see these 2 teams on the field match up against each other then, but also trying to think about how they are going to face up against Seattle, who is now in that spot, and then whoever is going to fill in the final spot for the Southern Conference.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like we have players lining up on the field here. We'll get started soon. Some fun stats for you all is Kennedy McCarthy, number 11 on Colorado Alpenglow, received Player of the Week last week in Week 9 of the WUL and has really come up this season. And you saw it in their game against the Bay recently, just how clutch Kennedy has been. So we'll see how kind of she does in this game as well. She's number 3 on plus minus in the season for the league. Interestingly enough, San Diego's first player in the top players of the plus minus is Abby Schultz at number 12, and then followed by Kristen Perjunas. But San Diego, again, is not in the top 10 of any of the major stats, plus minus throwing yards or receiving yards, because their talent is so evenly distributed and they really play their points across all the players. So Colorado a bit more top heavy. You have Abby Thorpe as number 1 for receiving yards with 1,840. Kennedy is number 12 on that list, and then Ari Nelson is number 3 in throwing yards with 2,093, and actually is number 31 on most points played. So an interesting metric there. Whereas Eva Bell from Utah, number 2 in throwing yards, but number 1 in points played. So an interesting comparison.
Yeah, that just goes to show the talent for Colorado runs high and burns bright. And we have the first poll going off with Colorado on defense, San Diego Super Bloom on offense for our first quarter, 0-0. We have Iwamoto picking up the disc for Super Bloom, defended by Vlack.
Interesting matchup there.
And we got a pull play right off the bat. Zettner getting it on the open side, finding Helton. And that is a smooth score right there, finding Peden in the end zone.
And we see that right there. All San Diego does is work the disc up the forehand side. We've seen it throughout games in this past season that San Diego does not really utilize the break side because, in fact, they don't need to. Their cutters are so elite that they are just always open on the open side, and this is a prime example.
Yeah, that was a smooth offensive score to start off the game. Pull play working just as expected for San Diego Super Bloom. Hoping that Colorado comes off with a strong start here, despite already having clinched their spots in the championship weekend. Point diff does matter for the seeding of that, those 2 games or 3 games during championship weekend. And we have Pajunas now on the poll for Super Bloom. A chance to look at Alpenglow's offense. We're seeing what looks number 3 picking up, firing it back to Nelson, who gets it to the far sideline. Looks like to Thorpe, who sets it off to the deep end zone, and that is McCarthy.
Well, will you look at it there?
Through traffic, McCarthy still working off of last week's momentum and the week before that, actually, too. Able to get that throw from Thorpe and score for Alpenglow.
And that is definitely a classic play that Colorado is going to look for end and end and end in this game, and San Diego is going to need to watch out for that. What a grab there by Kennedy McCarthy. And again, San Diego's going to need to have an answer for that.
Yeah, both teams here able to have clean holds for their starting points. Ready to see some big defensive plays from either end. Clean offensive holds. No fun for the audience.
And it looks like we have Senam Rozicki Shaw on the line for Super Bloom, who is a player to watch for this game. They were a U20 player back in 2024 for the mixed team, and so knows their way around the field, plays for UCSD right now. So excited to watch her play today.
Gray picking up for Bloom, getting it to the center to Rozicki Shaw, moving it up to Harushnikova, who finds Schiltz. Good awareness there to keep the disc live. Getting it to Neeson. Another clean hold. Score is Bloom 2 to Colorado 1. Just a little under 2 minutes into the first quarter.
And a great upline cut there from Nissan. And you could see that Colorado was really hard no around there and needed to cover that upline. And I think, they'll just get in the groove for some things. Great catch by Schultz there on the line. Toes it. No around option. Waits for the upline. And the jab cut from Nissan on O'Connor is just quite clean. Very textbook.
Super Bloom seeming very comfortable in throwing in these tight windows. Colorado putting the pressure on, but Super Bloom at this point in the season feeling comfortable with hitting their players, hitting their cutters in those tight windows under defensive pressure. And now we have Colorado with a chance to respond for their O point, getting it to Nelson in center of field, finding McCarthy for her initiating cut, who shoots it downfield to Pellegrini, who gets it back to McCarthy. Nelson looking downfield, finding Dixon, who gets it all the way to the end zone.
Oh.
And a huge bid by Thorpe. Observers calling it in for a big score there.
What
by
an
Alpenglow.
amazing grab. And of course, that is what we are going to see from these Colorado players. They are clutch. There's no other way to say it. They know their players. You have Kennedy, Ari, Nelson, Thorpe, and Dixon all on the line. They're going to make it happen. Catches the win just slightly. No problem. Great from Thorpe there.
Yeah, big plays here. And again, as you were noting in the pregame, Colorado running it through those top players. Curious to see, how that endurance holds up once we get into the second half, once we get into the fourth quarter, depending on how close of a game this is. How will that strategy work against the depth of rotation with Super Bloom? Walter picking it up for Bloom. Getting it to Bloomy, who finds Pajunas downfield, looking for the assist to Bile. Bile tracking it just out of reach. And now our first break chance of the game.
Kristen Pajunas, number 19 on throwing yards list for the season with 1,061 throwing yards this season. So an exciting stat for her. First for Super Bloom.
Very exciting. We have O'Connor picking up on Colorado's end zone line, getting it to number 51, Brown. Another player to watch for Alpenglow. Colorado finding their downfield cutters into Lavoie. Lavoie looking for a handler. A big swing trying to get to Vlack. Did not connect, so Bloom back on offense. Bloomy picking up, finding Weaver. Santa Barbara connection there, who gets it to Maxfield for a quick responding score. We are now 3-2. Super Bloom leading.
Yeah, it looks like it might have been a bit of a miscommunication there with that throw to the handler space from Colorado, unless it was just short to Vlack there on the sideline. Let's see the replay here.
Yeah, it looks like number 2, Lavoie, was kind of left alone there without a dump. And as we know for Western Ultimate League, the stall count is 7. That is a quick 7 seconds to be on the sideline without a dump to reset the stall.
I would also like to point out that the Caitlin Weaver to Megan Maxfield connection has been really steady for the past 2 games, especially the upline cuts from Megan Maxfield. She scored 4 points in the first half of the Seattle game, which almost doubled her points for the entire season. So she has really been on the accelerated uphill.
And now we are seeing Alpenglow offense. Nelson getting it to Dixon, goes down the sideline to get it to Pellegrini, gets it back to Thorpe. Thorpe looking backwards, finding McCarthy. Centering it back to Thorpe. Alpenglow in their end zone set here. A little back and forth pass, looking for that score. McCarthy able to connect to Hecht in the end zone. Good patience there by Alpenglow.
May Hecht, another strong player for Alpenglow. That was a great connection with her and McCarthy there. We see that Prajunis is on Abby Thorpe, which is, I think, a really interesting matchup. And Prajunis is a definitely elite downfield cutter. Replay, we have McCarthy to Thorpe. Thorpe so patient in the end zone there. In fact, their Colorado's red zone was 76.8% for the season so far, which is, I think, 2 percentage points higher than Super Bloom last time I checked. So,
let's see how that plays out here during this game.
So keep an eye on the red zone.
And we see Alpenglow pulling, trying to generate a break opportunity here and get the leg up on Super Bloom. Iwamoto picking up, looking for Zettner. Finding Helton. Looks like there is a little miscommunication with defense here as Helton was unguarded and able to get it to Mansfield in the end zone.
That was interesting. Do you think it was miscommunication, or did Colorado throw a zone that maybe we just have not seen before? I would need to watch the replay, but no matter. Mansfield in the end zone to catch that disc from Helton, perfectly placed.
Let's take another look at that offensive point there. It does look a little bit zony there, but to leave a hole in the center of the field and that hole to have Kayla Helton take advantage leads the opportunity score for Bloom.
Kayla Helton, also another player to watch for San Diego Super Bloom. And we, again, are so excited to have such veteran players for Super Bloom, but she has really helped this team come to life. And it's just a testament for how strong this team is in its 6th season in the WUL.
And here we are, Super Bloom leading 4-3. Still a close game with Alpenglow offense. Handlers looking to each other, getting it to Dixon. Gets it to number 2, Lavoie. Back to Ari Nelson, who, of course, shoots deep. Maxfield covering McCarthy, but McCarthy able to read that throw perfectly for a clean score.
Okay, I'm trying not to fangirl, but Ari Nelson is just on another level. The throws and the connections that she has with their teammates are just out of this world. And clearly, they know everything about where McCarthy is going to be in the end zone, and it's right over the defender's head, and McCarthy just comes down with it. So well read. The release from Nelson is also very quick. It just, you almost don't have any time to defend that throw.
Definitely. Alpenglow able to use Ari Nelson's ability to put the disc wherever they need as a team. A visionary thrower who really rounds out the Colorado offense. And let's see how Super Bloom responds. We have Guzman picking up Trying to find Neeson, getting it down the center to Harushnikova, who finds Schiltz. Bloom able to move it smoothly. Finding Neeson again to Schiltz. Some small passes here. Schiltz breaking it open to Harushnikova for a score. I will say we are seeing that difference in the strategy playing out already in this first quarter. We're about halfway through this first quarter, and we can see the clinical strategy of Super Bloom. A lot of smaller throws, but a lot of trust between the players, whereas we see these big shots that we were telling our audience to look out for from Ari Nelson, clutch players on Alpenglow, making for big deep shot scores on Alpenglow's side. I am curious to see how Super Bloom means to shut down those big shots, whether it's on the handler defense with Ari Nelson somehow shutting them down, or just playing like a tighter, no deep cutter defense downfield.
I think that's a great observation, Jory, and Super Bloom needed to deal with this with Tempest as well, who has Cheryl Sue, also a big shooter and very elite at that as well. And so I know they have that answer in their pocket. We just need to see them pull it out.
And here we go with Alpenglow. We have Ellis on Nelson, trying to stop Nelson. Disc in the center of the field. McCarthy dropping back. A versatile player, able to get those deep shots as a cutter, but also dropping back when needed for a bail. Looking downfield, passing it off to handler. Thorpe looking, not finding anything. It looks like we're seeing Bloom have a better time shutting down the downfield cuts, but Colorado being patient, working it up the field, swinging it side to side. Nelson, though, shooting, finding McCarthy, streaked deep for another Nelson McCarthy score, bringing us tied up 5-5.
Which I would just like to point out that having no breaks yet, 5-5, and this being a very tight game is pretty exciting. I think in the past few games we've seen teams tend to pull away in that first quarter, and just to have it be so neck and neck, it really just keeps the momentum going, and who will take that and kind of run away with it, if anyone.
Yes, definitely true. And again, this is not just a matter of Super Bloom clinching their spot in the championship weekend, but point diff does matter for seeding for both of these teams looking ahead to championship weekend. So we know both of them are trying to pull away, go on a run, get some break opportunity. And it seems that they're equally strong in the cleanliness of their offensive holds here. And so waiting to see some big defensive moves. Walter in the center with the disc, finding sideline with Yu Ishii, who gets it down to Bile, finding Maxfield. A little bit frantic here on the field, but Pajunas, undefended bail out there, getting it to Ishii. And there is a tight throw attempt to Weaver, and Blaze Sevigny there for the block. O'Connor picking up, finding 51 Brown, and getting it to the other sideline for a deep shot, but it is blocked by Pajunas. Havel not quite able to reel it in as that disc floated, allowing Pajunas to do what she does best. Super Bloom with the opportunity again. This is her offensive point. Handler's having a hard time connecting or finding cutters downfield. Bile there, getting it back to Walter. Walter looking downfield, finding Bile again. Bile shooting forward to Weaver. Weaver looking to the end zone for Maxfield. Some contact there with Sevigny. And we see a foul called by Maxfield there.
Interesting that is the third time now we've seen that inside flick go off. First with Abby Schultz for the score, and then again with Ari Nelson for the score, and now we see it again here with Weaver. Some contact there, but that throw seems to be working. That space is open. Caitlin Weaver is the #1 player on the Super Bloom in receiving yards with 989 now for this season thus far. Abby Schultz following her with 819. So interesting stats for you there. But both substantially lower than the top players for Colorado. Abby Thorpe with, again, 1,840, and then Kennedy McCarthy with 1,030.
Yeah, okay. We're looking at the observer decision regarding the foul. Observers have upheld the foul call, so Maxfield is getting the disc on the end zone line. Super Bloom getting into their end zone set, and Kajuna's right away cutting for a score. Again, no breaks yet, and we are just 3 minutes left in this quarter. 6-5, San Diego Super Bloom leading Colorado Alpenglow. What is this living up to the expectations that you had for this game so far, or are you surprised by the momentum and flow between these two teams?
Okay, I'm not going to lie. This is exactly how I thought it would play out. I think we see the deep shots from Colorado, and we see the very methodical, nice inside undercut throws from Super Bloom. They're both playing their games, and it's clearly working for the two of them. So we will just see who decides to adapt defensively to either system first.
Yeah, and adapt in such a way that it's not just slowing down the other team, but it is generating those blocks. It is generating the turns that either side needs in order to pull away. Dixon receiving the pull, getting it to Nelson. Nelson shooting a little high, and Super Bloom scooping it up. Weaver on the sideline, looking for a bail, finding it in Harushnikova, who then shoots it to Guzman a little low, and it is back in Colorado's hands.
Almost bookends for Guzman there. Great layout for him.
Dixon on the cone, trying to get it to Nelson, who drops it in the bid. Gray on the end zone line, looking for Schultz. Throwing a lofty one, and Schultz able to reel it in over defensive pressure.
And there we go, folks. That is our first break of the game. All right, and it comes from San Diego. So we will now have to see how Alpenglow deals with that momentum shift.
Let's take another look at that play. Here we see that disc going high. Guzman able to scoop that up, get it to Weaver, and this is the bookends that you were talking about for Guzman, almost. And then great bid by Nelson there, but they lost it on impact with ground.
And then the trust coming from Gray to Schultz in that end zone. And we've seen Colorado in the end zone. Their defense is very intense. They're a physical team. And so to just get that throw off quick and find the open hands, put it above because, you know, Schultz can get there. That's honestly the play I would make if I were the coach as well. Know your players.
Definitely. And now we have Colorado offense out on the field again. O'Connor in the center of the field, getting it back to the outside, who finds 37. Black on the sideline, back to O'Connor, finding Banis. And we're seeing a junky look here from Bloom, trying to slow down Alpenglow. Handlers for Alpenglow passing it back and forth. Not a lot of downfield momentum here. Thorpe with the disc, getting it to O'Connor. A lot of small dishy passes here. And a little bit of a breakthrough there to Vlack. Gets it to Thorpe. McCarthy with the disc now. Bloom still in their junk look. Almost a close hand there by Zettner. Alpenglow steady and holding on to it. McCarthy in the center of the field. Finding on the far side, Banis again. Back to McCarthy. Lots of passes here, folks. They're marching their way up to the end zone. A little scoober, and Zettner able to get a hand on it before Thorpe can reel it in, giving Bloom another break opportunity here. Zettner with the diss, and it narrowly goes through traffic. Ellis able to scoop it up. Iwamoto, center of the field, looking downfield, finding Peden, who sees Helton. And there's that inside flick again to Zettner just outside the end zone line. Gets it to Ellis with a quick dish to Mansfield for the score. And that is another break.
And well earned by Super Bloom. And honestly, I was very impressed with the way Colorado walked the disc up the field in the zone. They looked very comfortable, very easy in that space. I know Maggie O'Connor is a longtime player in the league, and that is their place to shine, is these little small dishy passes. But it's forcing this throw here from McCarthy to make that hard blade that's going to get you that D, and you just have to be ready for it. And then Super Bloom capitalizes. They move the field, they move the disc down the field, same pace. Quick throws, are patient, find the open player, and boom. Ellis puts it to Mansfield in the end zone.
Yeah, a lot of dishy throws there because of that junk look. Not the typical MO for Colorado, but they were able to get their way to about 20 yards outside of the end zone as Bloom stayed in that junk look. And now Colorado offense again heated up, ready to score. Nelson immediately trying to get it to Sevigny. Unfortunate case of, I think, looking ahead to the next throw and drops it. So now Bloom, another break chance opportunity. And there looks to be a call there as Pajunas went for the grab and Sevigny got hands on it too. Typically a tie will go to offense, but the players do have to agree on if it was a tie in the first place, and if Pajunas, who I assume called a strip, if that gets upheld, if it goes to the observer. Let's get a closer look at that if we can. See Ishii with the disc. It's looking pretty tied to me. Sevigny, such a squirrely player, very smart defensive player, able to make plays like that. Layout Ds are, I feel like, one of her specialties. Pajunas staying with the disc, getting it to Bloomy in center. Super Bloom trying to make this break opportunity a break train for them at the end of this first quarter. Bloomy with an odd vertical throw, but there is a foul call on that throw. Looks like no contest there from Hecht, so it goes back to Bloomy.
It looks similar to McCarthy's throw earlier, so I thought maybe it was the wind, but definitely seems like this was a foul.
And we have Weaver looking for Maxfield just outside of the end zone, and Walter there to complete the score. And that is 3 breaks now in a row for Super Bloom. It looks like the break train has been manifested, and Super Bloom is now pulling away. Can Alpenglow respond?
And this is where the momentum really comes into play. And I feel like Colorado is that type of team where they can fall with it, or they can really kind of carry themselves back up and be the team they know they can be. And I will say we have 9.4 seconds left in this half, so we'll see kind of how it ends. But it's just that uncharacteristic drop there. We saw a lot of that, I think, in the Bay game a week ago, of just Colorado had some dropped plays, but then we're really able to kind of get back in their right headspace and capture their focus again. So we're hoping maybe that comes in the second quarter.
And it does look like a timeout has been called here, and that would be Alpenglow having called the timeout in between points before their next offensive opportunity. We were talking about before the game that Colorado is a scrappy team. They're a talented team. They have big shooters. They have big defensive players, but ultimately they are a scrappy team who make clutch plays. I'm hoping that is what they're able to do to close out the first half. We are in the first quarter with just those 9 seconds left, but there is a whole nother quarter to this first first half, folks, and 9-5 lead by Bloom is not it is a doable comeback for, if any team, Alpenglow.
Oh, definitely. And I will say, Colorado is doing it to themselves. A lot of their giveaways were just overthrows or drops. They can definitely come back from that.
We have Nelson getting it to Dixon, center of the field. Back to Nelson. He finds Thorpe. Big shot from Thorpe. Looking for number 2, Lavoie. Catches it just outside the end zone. A flick to what looks to be intended receiver O'Connor, but it is caught by number 4, veteran Colorado player Ito. Able to reel it in as it just went a little bit past O'Connor there.
And Sarah Ito, number 10 on plus-minus for the league. So a very elite player there. And just a very clean sequence of throws from Colorado. You have 2 players there in the end zone ready to receive. Everyone's heads up, well aware of where the disc is. But Colorado just really utilizing their skill set, which is to get those deep throws and to get them off early.
Yeah, and we are now hoping we are done with the first quarter. Sorry about that, folks. Time management there. The time did expire during that point, so we are done. First quarter ending. San Diego Super Bloom leading Alpenglow 9-6. We will see you soon for the second quarter of the last Super Bloom home game.
It's a goal! Calavera es tuyo.
Actually, let's skip that part. Combat Candy is for everyone who trains hard and deserves better than choking down powder. 5 grams of science-backed creatine in a gummy that turns supplement routine into something to look forward to. Just because your workout is serious business doesn't mean your creatine supplement is to be. Combat Candy. Making strength frickin' delicious. Try it at combatcandies.com.
And welcome back to the start of the second quarter of your game. We are watching San Diego Super Bloom play against Colorado Alpenglow. It was a pretty even match for that first quarter until the last few minutes there when Super Bloom was able to pull away with 3 breaks to close out. And we are now watching Alpenglow on offense. And we see Nelson with the disc after a foul call on Pajunas. A little interruption of momentum there, but Nelson, they are able to get it to Thorpe, who then finds Dixon. Back to Thorpe, to Nelson. These handlers very comfortable weaving between the 3 of them. Thorpe now leaving to the deep space. Just Dixon and Nelson in the back. Getting it to Hecht. Nelson asking for cutter movement downfield. Finding number 23, Pellegrini. Who gets it to Dixon.
Looks like Colorado is trying a vert stack for this point.
Yeah, shaking it up, trying something new.
And we have Rozicki Shaw on Thorpe. So an interesting matchup there. Rozicki Shaw known for being really quick, really squirrely.
And that was a score there. Dixon to McCarthy, bringing us to Colorado 7, San Diego 9 for the top of the second quarter here.
And so Colorado reining it in a little bit. I'm really kind of upset at myself for not keeping track of how many points McCarthy has scored so far, because I think it might be all of them, if not 6 out of the 7.
Yeah, no, that seems like an accurate stat, and pretty much on par with the way McCarthy has been playing for this season. High in goals, also in assists, also in blocks, just an all-around player for Colorado that they are utilizing and relying on both sides of the disc here.
And so we've seen those players on Colorado step up for this game. And so I'm kind of waiting to see on Super Bloom if there will be a player for them on their side who kind of takes it away for them.
Let's find out. And we have Super Bloom on offense here. Colorado coming down in person defense. Zettner putting a high, lofty one up to Peden. Peden not able to get the grab. Looks like a foul was called there on the Colorado player. Looks to be number 12, Andrews there. Players now discussing. Let's see if we can take a closer look there. There we see, yeah, there's some contact there from Andrews over the top and back of Peden. Probably what elicited the foul call from Peden there.
I love to see lots of smiles on the field, though, during foul calls. I will say it's very nice to have Julia Peden back in this game. We missed her last weekend. She was not at the Seattle game, and so to be back here for this Colorado game, she definitely adds a lot of joy to the play of Super Bloom.
A lot of joy and a lot of clutch plays of her own on the field, and we are dispatched back to Zettner for that contested foul call. Gets it to Leslie. Sharp throw to Helton there. Finds Mansfield for streaking Peden. Looks off Peden to get it to Zettner. Finds what looks to be meant for Iwamoto, but Helton snatching it and getting it to Peden in the end zone. As he said, good to have her back.
Isn't it? I will say, though, sometimes when I watch Kayla Helton, I really feel like the game is on 1.5 speed. She catches the disc and immediately lets go. It's like no windup is needed.
Yeah, and there we see Leslie getting it to Helton. Exactly what you said. Immediately finding the open cutter downfield. Colorado putting good pressure, making those windows tight earlier in the points for Super Bloom, and that looked like a break side score, right?
It sure did.
So Super Bloom getting some break side action for their offensive plays.
And just really showcasing their talent in throws. The perfect amount of touch on all of those. It just makes the quickness seem so casual.
Now we have Nelson picking it up, getting it to Hecht. Finds McCarthy. Sevigny on the near side of the field now. Ishii shutting down Nelson, but Hecht able to get the disc back to Nelson, who shoots it deep. It is Weaver in the space on McCarthy. That is a fun matchup there. Weaver trying to get it to Pajunas, just off the hands of Pajunas there, and so Nelson now picking up for Colorado, looking to score. Getting it to Thorpe. Looks like the vert stack again there from Colorado. Thorpe with it on the sideline and getting it to McCarthy.
Who? McCarthy? Kennedy McCarthy?
McCarthy for another Colorado score there. Definitely putting herself in position for being another possible player of the week situation with these stats.
And that shot from Ari Nelson deep. I would like to highlight Caitlin Weaver's positioning in this space. Kennedy McCarthy has gone every single disc in that zone so far, and Caitlin was able to shut that down. We see the turn here, but Sevier has the disc upline from Thorpe.
That's another matchup, actually, I hope to see more, is Sevier and Maxfield. Those are two layout D professionals there.
If you will.
Excited to see how that matchup, if it continues. Hopefully the coaches continue that. And we have Alpenglow now pulling to Super Bloom. Super Bloom leading 10-8. Alpenglow able to close that gap a little bit in the second quarter. Super Bloom sticking to their system here. Harushnikova.
Oh, interesting.
Harushnikova with a big grab there, but there is a pick called on field. Bloom is, there's no change in possession here. It is just a matter of deciding how that pick will be handled on field. They did go to the observers. And so Harushnikova holding on to the disc there, getting it to Weaver, who sees Neeson streaking downfield, but able to get scooped by Banis on Alpenglow. And a quick responding D there from Gray, but there does seem to be a foul call from Vlack.
Okay, talk about matchups. Gray and Vlack also both very strong in throwing and in receiving, and that is a great matchup. Both squirrely players, quick, so quick. Oh, if the whole league could just do a 40-yard dash race so I could see who's the fastest, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, who's the fastest? 40-yard dash. You got to do a bunch of different distances.
That's true.
There's the quick and squirrely players, and then there's the gonna run down a huck 40 dash, 50 dash players as well. But yes, a great matchup there. And the disc is going to stay with Vlack, who gets it to the sideline to Andrews. Andrews looking for a bailout, but there was a stall called. Again, stall is 7. Guzman on the mark saying no stall. So the disc will stay with number 6, Banis. Banis looking for Vlack, and it is a high release disc through traffic. 3 Colorado players there, and Vlack does come down with it. O'Connor now in the back with number 84, Havel, as the rest of Alpenglow is in a vert stack. Just past half field now. They are trying to get it to their red zone. Some nice downfield action, getting it to 32. Stockdale, and a big block there by Roziki Shaw.
Great defensive pressure. I will say the throw was a bit behind the Alpenglow player, or else it would have been perfect.
Neeson on their own end zone, but a Super Bloom timeout called there. And as folks at home may know, and if you do not, when a timeout is called in this league, both teams are able to swap out as many personnel as they like. So what we are likely to see here is some offensive stalwarts for San Diego being swapped in to make sure that San Diego keeps this lead and is able to score. Is this a break or a hold? There's been a lot of back and forth on this point, which is different than the first quarter. But yeah, San Diego swapping in their offensive stalwarts here, and then Colorado having the opportunity to put on some of those defensive stars that they definitely have on their roster and discuss how they're going to generate a turn after this timeout and stop any pull plays that Bloom might be coming up with.
I really do appreciate also the use of timeouts in the WUL. I think they can be used in times like this to exchange personnel, but also I've seen more recently them be used to slow momentum of the other team, more so like you see in basketball, and I think that's very strategic.
Yeah, a good observation about how as the coaching staffs in this league get more comfortable with the rules, which are different than the club rules that most of us are used to, how they use that to their advantage and strategy. Ellis on the Super Bloom end zone line, trying to get a swing off, and unfortunately that is a smart defensive play there by Alpenglow, and they are able to score a Callahan.
Amazing. I mean, it's not every day you see a Callahan scored in a professional ultimate game. It comes very rarely, but it is quite the feat. Great pressure there from McCarthy.
And that is Sevigny there, who was able to grab that Callahan score. Sevigny, so speedy. Like we were saying just earlier, very speedy player, able to read where that swing was meant to go. It hung higher, I think, than intended. Perfect opportunity to be scooped up. And now we are now in a 1-point difference game. San Diego 10, Colorado 9. Colorado coming back from that 3-break train that Super Bloom had. We have a roller pool here from Alpenglow. Iwamoto picking it up quickly, getting it to Ellis. Ellis looking back to Iwamoto. Iwamoto faking a big throw there, but getting it to Zettner, who's coming under, looking downfield, looking for a dump now. Iwamoto looking, finding Ellis. A little bit more frantic of a play here. Ellis finding Helton, able to secure that disc on the sideline and then get it back to the center to Ellis for a nice easy toss to Leslie in the end zone.
Oh, and Mika Leslie in the end zone. What an incredible catch. And dare I say, it might be helpful making catches like those to have some gloves on your hands. And Mika Leslie has our Friction gloves, which is a sponsor of our game today. So thank you, Friction gloves. Highly recommend them as your glove to pick for catching those discs.
Yeah, let's take another look at that. Leslie having some phenomenal grabs this season. And again, wearing those Friction gloves. Folks, if you want to have some phenomenal grabs, rain, shine, snow, check out Friction gloves for all your catching needs.
So a few quick points here between Colorado and Bloom to start us off. We have about 5 minutes left in the quarter, and the momentum is definitely swinging back toward Super Bloom, but that Callahan has got to carry Colorado for a bit here.
Definitely. Nelson immediately, they let off a big shot. Pajuna's in the area, but Thorpe reeling it in for a score. Another great matchup there. Thorpe, cool, calm, collected under pressure for the score, and we are still within 1 point there. San Diego 11, Colorado 10. Let's see if we can get another look at that grab there.
I really held my breath for this entire throw. Kristen Pajunas really makes up the space here, too.
Oh, just fingertips away. Thorpe never taking her eye off that disc, though. Confident that that disc is going to be her score.
Also, whoever invented slow motion technology, thank you so much. Thank you for the ability to be able to replay these incredible athletes and all that they can do. Just, it's the little things in life, you know?
Definitely. And now we have Alpenglow pulling for Super Bloom. Super Bloom staying in their rotation, it seems like, as we do have Neeson picking up for this line. Looking downfield. There's Helton. Looked off, though, for Gray. Gray finding Razisha. To Harushnikova. Looking for a dump. Finding Guzman upfield. Finding Neeson right outside the end zone. Getting it back to the center of the field to Schiltz. Schiltz looking for Harushnikova, but just outside and a little too low, it looks like, for Harushnikova.
Yeah,
and now Break opportunity.
Break opportunity. Guzman really commanding that offense there for Super Bloom, definitely pointing for folks where they need to go, and I think that's great to have that kind of leadership on the field. The defensive pressure from Sevier is really, it's getting to Super Bloom, I think.
Definitely. We have a huck there from Brown on the sideline. A big jump there from Schultz on defense. Getting the disc back into Super Bloom hands. Neeson finding Gray. Colorado in person defense. Staying tight with the downfield cutters for Bloom. Some fancy footwork there from Neeson looking for Hrushnikova. Not able to connect there, and now we have Alpenglow. Once again, break opportunity here. And we have Banis picking up.
But a nice throw there from Nissan, and we really have not seen Super Bloom try a lot of these deep looks, and I'm wondering if they're thinking about looking to switch tactics up a bit as we move into the second half here soon.
And we have a big throw there from Kawabata. Not quite able to reach intended target Guy. And we're getting some turns here on both sides. Guzman picking up, directing Super Bloom, but a block there from number 6 and a block right back by Gray. Both defenses working on this point. Helton saying enough of this. Big shot over to Gray. Able to get a hand on it, but not able to reel that in. And we seem to have a timeout there by Alpenglow as Brown was picking up the disc. Both, I imagine, all 14 of the players out there tired from running the back and forth between those turns.
I think that may be true. I will say, entertain us, well, don't you? Like, what a point from both teams. And finally, that huck goes off from Kayla Helton. What I feel like I've been noticing on the field is Colorado is really letting that middle space open, mostly for undercuts. So I feel like Kayla, especially number 5 Helton, has been capitalizing on that, and Super Bloom as a team has been filling that middle space. And finally, to see a huck go off from that has been really interesting. This one just slightly to the outside there from our angle. I was like, oh, I think it's going to be good, but just drifts a bit too much. And then a few Ds hand in hand here. Tori Gray just being very heads up in this space. Just gets a few fingers on it.
And we can see the personnel swaps here on both sides as Nelson is picking up from that timeout for Alpenglow. Alpenglow looking to tie up this game with this timeout, working to their advantage. Bloom putting out some of their defensive star power as well. Nelson looking downfield, trying to find Thorpe, instead finding Kayla Helton, who gets it to Pajunas. Pajunas looking downfield, finding Yu Ishii just outside of end zone. Ishii with a cheeky throw past Thorpe, who was tightly defending Helton, but Helton, eyes on the prize, able to score, and now it is a 2-point lead. San Diego Super Bloom with just under 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Here we see that throw from Nelson.
And then to come back and catch it. And Kayla Helton is just so heads up here. And again, we ask, okay, who will it be on Super Bloom? Who steps up? And Helton says, okay, let me take this one. I got it, team.
Yeah, there's nice bookends for Helton there.
And just an incredible showcase of the type of player she has become. I learned recently that she started playing Ultimate because she missed the soccer tryout at UCSB for some scheduling reason.
So many teams lucky for her missing that tryout.
Thank God.
Yeah, noticing now, Helton heads up play there, knowing that Alpenglow for their offense, it's going to be Nelson trying to get it to Thorpe, trying to get it to Dixon, trying to get it to McCarthy, knowing those key players and knowing those are the ones we want to shut down. And as we speak, Dixon with the disc right now, huge layout there from Zettner on Thorpe. And another break opportunity here. Iwamoto with the disc. Zettner reeling it in with an undercut, getting it to Leslie. Iwamoto, not unguarded, just trailing Alpenglow as they try to. That is a timeout call for Super Bloom, but I feel like we're seeing, because of such a quick turnaround and how the first quarter went, where it was just clean holds, trading. There's a little bit of a lag there on Alpenglow picking up their players, making sure that they are able to respond to a defensive play like that from Super Bloom right away and stopping their momentum as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and now looking at kind of where we are with 1 minute in the second quarter. Let's see this block here one more time. I feel like Zentner baits it there, and honestly, smart play. At this point, you've seen, okay, who are they looking for? Oh, Abby Thorpe. Okay, let me be there and be ready, and then I can make this play. And now Colorado needs to respond to San Diego upping their defense in this way. They've capitalized on who their star players are, so now how are you going to fight back? Are you going to utilize other players on the field, switch up your defense? Like, I'm very curious to see kind of how Alpenglow comes back in the second half.
Yeah, we were talking about how Alpenglow has a lineup of gritty players here in not just this league, but also in the club teams that they play on together. So hoping to see them lean on that chemistry, that built-in knowledge of each other to help them get past the blocks that Super Bloom is generating at this point. And just over a minute left. Near block there from 84. Havel for Alpenglow, but Super Bloom able to hang on to it. Handlers marching it upfield. Finding Helton, who looks at Iwamoto. Back to Helton. Finding Leslie for a beautiful snatch in the end zone. Alpenglow unable to shut down the quick movement there of Super Bloom's clinical offense and their red zone set. And we'll see what the percentages look like after this game.
And you can tell, similar to what you said about club teams really being a factor, a lot of the Super Bloom players play with each other on the club team flip side, and so you can really see that chemistry here as well. They look behind themselves, okay, who do they see? Helton. And there's just a lot of that trust. The immediate throw from Leslie to Ellis on the sideline. There's just a lot of familiarity you can see out there, and that really helps Super Bloom to endure these long, hard, more physical games.
Definitely able to lean on the depth of their roster here, as we see Helton, who was just on that point, is now pulling for Alpenglow.
I actually believe this is Helton's 4th point in a row.
Picked up by Hecht. Centered to Nelson. They're looking downfield, finding Thorpe instead nearby, who sends it upfield for Dixon. Dixon shooting it downfield. Ito and McCarthy in the area, and McCarthy coming down in that dog pile. We might have a couple players caught up in the contact of that. Seeing if there are any foul calls, and it does look like we are seeing a foul call by Gray there, and a possible injury by McCarthy as she's holding her ankle. Let's take another look at that. Here we see Thorpe getting it to Dixon. Dixon letting off that big huck there. Gray, Ito, Weaver. Ooh, unfortunately, that is a very hard landing for McCarthy there on the ankle. Still able to make that catch under pressure, but hate to see that kind of injury for McCarthy as well. Just a really star-powered player for Alpenglow on offense, making these clutch grabs under pressure.
And hoping that she will be okay, but that is going to hurt Colorado Alpenglow for the rest of this game with only 23 seconds in the first half.
Yeah, really crucial injury there for Alpenglow's offense. And the goal is upheld there for Alpenglow. Colorado still in it, 11 to San Diego's 13. Just over 20 seconds left in this first half.
Yeah, interesting. And I think that throw was intended for Ito, who does go up for it. I think just a bit early. It's a bit over. And then McCarthy is there again for the cleanup, which we saw also a lot of cleanup from her in the past few games. Again, just a very clutch player. And so hoping that she'll be okay, especially with Champ Weekend coming up here soon. But we will see how Colorado responds to that lack of presence there in the end zone.
And we have what could be the last pull of the game from O'Connor. Not of the game, but the first half. From O'Connor to Super Bloom. Ellis picking up to Iwamoto. Black on the mark. Iwamoto able to find Weaver. Weaver looking for a bailout. Tight defense there from Colorado on the handlers. Putting pressure on Bloom as downfield opens up. Roziki Shaw getting a throw off to Helton, who is back on the field. Kawabata on the mark for Helton. That is a good matchup there. Very smart defender there, but we have Roziki Shaw letting off a big huck. And that is reeled in by Caitlin Weaver of San Diego Super Bloom, and time has also expired. That means our first half has ended with San Diego leading to 14 to Colorado's 11. Let's take another look at that play there.
And this will definitely add to Caitlin Weaver's receiving yards, so maybe putting her over 1,000 if she's at 989 right now, but a great huck from Roziki Shaw. And again, San Diego, they can do that too. They can do it. They have the throw, so hoping to see more of that in the second half.
Definitely. This has been an exciting first half between these two powerhouses of teams. We are excited for you to have to join us for the second half of this game as San Diego makes steps towards clinching their spot for the championship weekend of the season. We'll be back with you shortly.
One time give it all. Bust it open, Let me see you drop. Get down in the car. One time give it all. Bust it open, Let me see you drop. I fucked up this Russell, baby hustle. What the oh my I fucked up this Russell, baby hustle. What the oh my what is my guns? What are they fly? What are they ride or die?
Planning your club season? Come to Ski Town, August 15th and 16th in Salt Lake City. There will be a women's, mixed, and open division. We are now accepting bids, and scan the QR code on the screen or email skitownclassic@gmail.com for more information. We'll see you at Ski Town.
It is championship weekend in the Western Ultimate League.
Covered and grabbed! It's Yen! Oh! What a grab!
Miriam?
Oh my God!
Grab from Chung, and as Chip Chang launches to Stetmeyer for a goal.
And a blazing
Into the end zone, and it's a layout grab.
Up for Melnick.
Wow! Oh my goodness, Leah. That was a dime ball.
between San Diego Super Bloom and Colorado Alpenglow. Just a reminder that Colorado Alpenglow has already secured their spots in championship weekend along with Seattle, as Seattle won earlier today. San Diego Super Bloom, however, making their efforts towards securing their own spot in championship weekend as they go into the second half with a lead of 14-11 over Alpenglow. We saw that second half end with a phenomenal grab there by McCarthy in the end zone that also resulted in what seems like a game-ending injury for McCarthy. I don't think we'll see her out on the field again, which is a pretty big blow there for Colorado Alpenglow. And then for the last few seconds on there, we had Super Bloom secure their score to make this a 3-point lead. Sydney, how is this lining up statistically this first half so far with what you've seen from both these teams throughout this season?
Yeah, I think statistically speaking, this is very common, especially for Super Bloom, to tend to pull away at this point in the game. We've seen that in their games against the first game against the Bay and against Seattle as well. But we've also seen that Colorado really drives with momentum. And so the fact that they are only 3 points down, because Super Bloom needs the point differential, I believe they will start to step up the intensity. But Colorado is going to also want to close that gap. And so how they're going to confront not having McCarthy on the field, that'll be an interesting outcome to see.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see how Alpenglow plays offensively speaking without one of their star receivers on the field. But first, we are seeing a defensive point from Alpenglow as Super Bloom receives. Bloomy picking up, getting it to Walter. Walter looking downfield, finding Pajunas. Pajunas with a big fake for the downfield, getting it to Weaver instead, who finds Ishii. Getting it back to Bloomy. Super Bloom marching it up the field against the person D from Alpenglow. Weaver in the center of the field to Bile. Bile looking for a bail from Pajunas. Pajunas then immediately throwing a flick to Weaver for a score. First score of the second half, bringing us 15-11, San Diego leading.
And a great angle on that disc from Pajunas there. I will say the use of the flick open side here is very textbook from Super Bloom. And just to call out the upline cut here from Weaver in the red zone. Very clean first point of the half.
Yes, that is a clean hold there and a quick clean hold there from Super Bloom, as they are no doubt looking to increase that point diff with their quick offensive points and then trying to generate a turn early on in their defensive points to then do stuff and score. We have Nelson picking up, getting it to Hecht, trying to get it to Hecht, instead getting it to Thorpe. Thorpe calling those cutters who are deep downfield to be closer and turning to Nelson for a dump. Nelson now looking back to Hecht. Colorado cutters again starting drifting a little deep there as the handlers work between themselves. Nelson trying to direct cutters downfield as well. Thorpe trying to get it to Ito, and it looked like a miscommunication of a throw there and behind Ito. And now Super Bloom has their break opportunity. Guzman picking up to Harushnikova, who gets it to Neeson, looking for Pajunas. Slicing a flick downfield to Roziki Shaw. Roziki Shaw looking like a high stall throw there as Dixon was on the mark. And I'm assuming a discussion here, probably of a stall. I did not see a hand signal. Yes, it is a stall. And I believe, trying to interpret the observers right now, I'm trying to see if the observers are upholding the stall call by Dixon, in which case the disc will stay up there rather than a turn in the end zone, and it does look upheld. So a few extra yards there for Alpenglow as they are going to make their way back downfield, and immediately a huge bomb from Nelson to Thorpe. Looking to Ito, but that disc drops and Ito unable to get hands on it. So Walter now picking up for Bloom, not Walter Guzman, sorry. Getting it to Roziki Shah, who tries to get it to Schiltz, and it goes instead into the hands of Alpenglow. Nelson with the disc again, shooting. And that was a great second chance there by number 23, Colette Pellegrini, for Alpenglow for a score. That is a hold for Alpenglow.
Wow, and a great box out there by Guzman. I will say, based on my one flag way over in the corner, it's a bit swirly down there on the field, and so these discs are floating a bit more this way. Guzman here boxing out this throw, gets a hand on it at the last second, and just real heads up there by 23 to make that grab. You can't give up hope. That's Pellegrini there.
Yeah, Pellegrini making sure to keep eyes on that disc for a very clutch second chance grab for the score, and a much needed score to keep Colorado in this as O'Connor pulls to a San Diego offense.
I've also noticed Colorado is being a bit saggy on the marks, and I'm wondering if they're actually trying to intentionally stop those hucks. We'll see if they do it on this point as well. They're definitely a little backed off from their Super Bloom players.
Yeah, backed off and also pushing the cutters under. And we're seeing a miscommunication there on Super Bloom, giving Alpenglow an opportunity for a break. O'Connor getting it to Vlack. Vlack looking downfield. Back to O'Connor instead. Brown making a cut from the top of the vert stack. Looks like an injury called there by Super Bloom.
Not sure what happened there.
There was an injury call. I don't believe the observers picked up on that right away. But with the injury call, Super Bloom is swapping out one player, and then Alpenglow able to swap in one player themselves. So Thorpe is now on the field for this break opportunity for Alpenglow. Sevigny on the sideline, looking for some help. High stall, Vlack through traffic. There is a stall called. Players discussing and observers likely to decide. No stall. So the disc will stay with Vlack in the center of the field.
I will say it is a bummer when these calls are called, but it gives us a nice view of the wonderful jerseys all these players are wearing. Would like to call out our Breakmark sponsor, the official apparel provider of the WUL. Thank you for these really wonderful, very solid and clean jersey styles.
Yes, thank you, Breakmark, for making the Colorado numbers so easy to read, as that is 37 Vlack with the disc, getting it to Brown. Back to Vlack. Alpenglow still in that vert stack. Looks like they might be switching over to their end zone look, and unfortunately thrown outside of Brown's hands, and Super Bloom getting a opportunity to score their point again, but that is what I think was a timeout call. And not on purpose. That was Colorado who accidentally called a timeout. Timeouts, just a reminder to folks, timeouts can only be called by the team in possession of the disc. So play will go on. Peden with the disc on the sideline. Big throw there as Stahl was climbing high. And we have 2 Colorado players in the area with Helton. Helton knocked down by Thorpe and pulled back up by Thorpe. As this is now Alpenglow opportunity once again for the break. Let's take a quick look at that again.
Looks like Peden tries to find an option deep. Helton realizes it and goes for the disc. And just a bit of fingers above Helton's there. Great defensive play by Thorpe.
Honestly, a great high stall bailout there. We've seen a lot of good deep throws from Alpenglow. So it is nice to see, even if it is a bailout, a good deep throw on Bloom's side. And Alpenglow is marching up the field again. Vlack with the disc. Looking like that might be a high stall bailout. And we see a great attempt there by number 32, Stockdale. Really turning on the Jets to try to lay out to maintain possession. And Alpenglow does need this score to stay in it. Iwamoto with the disc, getting it to Weaver. Floats it over to Helton. Helton seeing Zettner with steps on her defender. And a great bid there from Zettner, but not able to connect as that disc dropped.
Which is so interesting because the recent discs that have ended up in that end zone have been quite floaty. And to have it be zippy, it seems like it's just, our wind is a bit unpredictable.
Just a bit. And as you say that, a high throw there for Alpenglow, meaning possession is now back to Super Bloom. We have just under 4 minutes left in this quarter. Weaver with the disc, looking for Zettner. And in this attempt, Zettner is able to score for Super Bloom, bringing us to 16. Super Bloom to Colorado's 12. I will say the momentum from Colorado does seem like it has shifted coming out of this second half.
I agree. I think the McCarthy injury hurt not only just the talent on the field, but also the morale. I think it's hard to see a player like that go down.
Yeah, definitely. And just knowing that there is a lead to make up for in the time remaining, that clock is counting down and there's only so much time left to make up the point diff. We are taking a look at the weather here. It is just over 64 with a pretty typical 78% humidity. Wind speed's nothing crazy, but it is a little swirly down there on the field. And we see Alpenglow offense here. Nelson finding downfield. Number 2, Lavoie to Dixon. Back to Nelson. This is about the time for a big wind-up shot. Instead, getting it to Dixon, who finds 23, Pellegrini, who's shooting it back for Dixon, but that is just too far for Dixon. And we have a streaking Maxfield downfield. Walter with a big fake there, getting it to Yushi as Super Bloom cutters are organizing downfield. Bloomy with the disc. Trying to find Ishii. Not quite connecting there. And now Ari Nelson once again with the disc for Alpenglow offense. Finding Cutter on the sideline. Getting it to Lavoie. And that is a score by Ito. Bringing Alpenglow up to 13.
And I was just going to say, great heads-up shoulder turn there from Ito in the end zone. The disc was just above their left shoulder, and I think they were looking for it over their right. But to have that quick reaction and make that catch,
veteran move.
Very veteran, very impressive. You just have to be ready. It looks like these kind of dump throw discs are curving ever so slightly outward, which is trailing away from our handler players and making them real difficult to catch up to.
Yeah, I think we're seeing on both sides just really heads up tight handler defense, and that along with a good mark, and that is pushing these dumps to be, instead of like a nice easy swing across field, we are seeing high stall, good mark, high pressure on the dump, pushing it into a much farther throw than I think the thrower intends or wants. And we have O'Connor for the pull. Neeson in the center of the field. There's that saggy mark to start from Alpenglow, cutting off Hux, but Guzman shooting a massive Huck there. Not sure who the intended receiver was, but now Alpenglow does have to work essentially the full field to get this break opportunity.
I think it was possibly intended for Krishnikova, but maybe just a bit of a miscomm there.
That could be Sevigny getting the disc to Banis. Over to Vlack. But that is a hand on the disc by Roziki Shah.
Great heads-up defense from Roziki Shah there. I think just knowing that the disc was about to come from that fast release and being heads up.
Disc all the way on the sideline now with Harushnikova. Getting it to Gray in center field. Push back some yards. Cutter's adjusting. Looks like a call on the field. Either contact or fast call, but I think it's coming in on 0, so could have been contact. Guzman in the center with the disc to Neeson, to Harushnikova, but there is a call. There is a travel call on Neeson. And disc goes back to Neeson. To Helton. Through traffic to Roziki Shah, to Harushnikova. Back to Helton. To Guzman. Trying to look for Roziki Shah, but Sevigny in the area. Getting it back to a break opportunity for Alpenglow, and a big shot there from O'Connor looking for Kawabata. Helton instead bringing that in with heads up D there. And San Diego once again trying to work their way up to a score.
With 30 seconds left in the quarter.
Schiltz with the disc, and now every Bloom player on this line has touched the disc. Big throw there from Helton, looking for Guzman, finding instead Alpenglow, and we have a whistle on the field. Should be for Alpenglow as they swap out their offense, hoping to get a score in these last few seconds and bringing them back into 2 points of San Diego going into the fourth and final quarter.
Yeah, and this has been quite an interesting point because there has been a lot of back and forth, and a lot of those have come, a lot of the turns, I would say, have come from these deep throws, which I was asking for from San Diego earlier, and they look like they're in the right locations, but the defense has been so solid. It seems like both teams are well aware that that is going to be the trend of the game, is looking for those deep throws, and they're both being heads up about it now. So wondering if that will now shift the momentum back to these kind of give and goes.
Yeah, good observation there. Definitely seeing the testing of the deep D on both sides, and yeah, some of them are just misconnections there between the cutter and the thrower, regardless of the D.
It's been interesting to see O'Connor just had that shot. Love that she's a lefty and can put those up. I think it's kind of a unique, brings a unique sense to the game, but I have in the past seen O'Connor do a lot of the versatile kind of cutter handler switches, and I've not seen so much of that in this game particularly. So I'm wondering if it's just a Colorado different system, or what they're hoping to accomplish with Maggie O'Connor there.
And now we see Alpenglow hoping to accomplish a break here, but we see Nelson with an uncharacteristic turf. Could have been some hand interference there by Helton. Helton now with the disc, looking to score through Yu Ishii for some twinkle toes on the sideline. Oh, that is actually not a score, and we are having observers calling that out, unfortunately. And so now time has expired, and that is the end of the third quarter. Let's take another look at that. Here's Helton, and here we see Yu Ishii read that disc. We see feet up. Interesting call there, given the replay that we have. It does look like first contact from Yu Ishii was within the field lines.
Interesting perspective, and I do think Ishii also looked surprised herself, as well as some of the other sideline players over there. It was hard to tell. I don't know if they were counting that as on the line, and that is technically out, but
yeah, that is a good point. It could have been on the line. And here we see it again. We see the jump for the catch. First foot is that back left foot, and then a couple steps after that, it is the first point of contact that would determine whether it's in or out. We don't on this field, technically we don't have the tape that is a great indicator of that in and out for our players. But there are lines on the field. Anyway, we have just ended our third quarter, going into our fourth and final quarter between San Diego Superbloom and Colorado Alpenglow. Let's see how they both take on this final quarter. We'll be back shortly. All right, and we are back for the fourth and final quarter of this game. San Diego pulling to Alpenglow. Nelson with the disc, and San Diego leading 16-13. Colorado looking to not only tie it up, gain a lead, get some point diff, and increase their chances at the best standing possible for championship weekend. And they get a score there from number 76. That is Sarah Levin.
And again, we have that inside flick throw. All this one floats a bit more to that right-hand side of the field, so as if it were an open side throw. Great defensive pressure there from Superbloom, but very well read by Levin.
Yeah, that is a great read from Levin there. And even if Levin was not able to get those couple fingers on, you can see Levin being like, look, I caught it between these two fingers. There was also number 2, Lavoie was in the area just in case.
And that is something I really do appreciate about Colorado, is that they their players are so heads up that there are always 2 people within those huck throws, usually just to be ready for it. And it's a testament to their system. They know it so well. They know what's going to happen, and they're ready for it.
Very true. O'Connor here for the pull. Walter picking up, getting it to Bloomy. Bloomy looking for Weaver. Pojuno's trying to save the disc, unable to with a bid attempt. Now O'Connor centering to number 6, Banis, who finds Brown. Brown sneaking one through there, and then looks like there is actually a call back at Brown, but Andrews there with a miscommunication with O'Connor. We'll see if the turn stays or if the disc goes. Looks like the disc is going back to Andrews.
I would just like to highlight Super Bloom's earlier communication on that turn. Pajunas calling Walter to pick up her player streaking deep.
Looks like another call there. And disc will once again go back to Andrews.
3rd time's a charm.
Alpenglow set up with a vert stack downfield. Andrews looking for Brown, and there's another call, possibly. But play is now live, and Sevigny with the disc on the far sideline, looking for a timeout call, actually, coming for Alpenglow. That is, I believe, their second of this half, so their final timeout for this half.
Also, a strategic use of the timeout here, because when you call the timeout, the stall drops back to 0 on the restart of the play. And so if you have a player getting to a high stall count, you can use that timeout there. Again, you only have 2, so when you choose for that, who's to say, but I think a good call by the coach there.
And we have some of our top play nominees here. There is a Callahan earlier from Sevigny for Alpenglow. And here we see big shot from Nelson. And that grab there from Thorpe. And that's where we see the very heads up D there from Helton, and then
which
the
resulted in
bookends as well.
And then is
another
this the
big
one?
shot.
Oh, great grab here by Pellegrini. Yep.
Yes, great second chance grab there by Pellegrini.
Okay, but just need to highlight Abby Thorpe's layout grab in the first quarter was also so elite.
Now we have Thorpe with the disc. Personnel change for Alpenglow as they put in their offensive movers. Heck getting it to Thorpe on the other sideline. Thorpe putting it up to space. But we have a few Super Bloom players in the area knocking it down, and Pellegrini not able to maintain possession for Alpenglow. So now Gray picking up for Bloom. Gray looking for Weaver, center of the field. Super Bloom still on their own end zone line, getting it up to Schiltz. Pajunas downfield as well. A streaking Zettner. Big shot there from Pajunas. Definitely outside of range there, but making Alpenglow have to now work all the way back upfield.
Wow, and a great look there from Pajunas. I think it had all of the right assets to it, just a little bit far there for Zettner, but what a throw. I mean, look at the amount of yards there. No wonder she's number 1 for Super Bloom on yards.
True there. Looks like an injury was called. And so now we have Roziki Shaw on the field. Nelson picking up for Alpenglow. Cutters starting their motion downfield, trying to give that deep option for Nelson that they love. Pellegrini getting it to center field. Thorpe. High throw there. And Pellegrini coming down with it, getting it all the way to this sideline to Levin. Back to Thorpe. And it's a low throw to Hecht. That means Super Bloom now has possession.
Trying to get that inside backhand off. Is a tough look.
Yuishi picking up immediately to Roziki Shaw. Finding Pajunas. Pajunas seeing Weaver going deep, deciding for an under instead. Weaver getting it to Helton. Back to Gray. Full width of the field used there. Pajunas to Gray. Gray looking down in the end zone, looking for opportunities to score. Instead, giving it to Helton. And that looked like a block. Yes, block. Let's get a replay, just to double check and confirm. There. Oh, I see. Not a block.
The immediate apology.
Disc
from
on
Helton.
Rogue. Nelson now with the disc. Getting it to Heck. Who finds Lavoie. Lavoie looking downfield. Instead getting it to Nelson. Nelson back to Hecht. Ito on the far sideline to Lavoie. Back in the hands of Nelson for a big shot, opening up the deep. We have Levin in the space. Thorpe as backup. Levin doesn't need it, as that is an Alpenglow score, bringing us to 15 Colorado to 16 San Diego, and we have just under 6 minutes, just under half the time left in this quarter. 1 point diff. What are we thinking?
And it is really getting down to the wire here. Just an amazing throw here from Nelson. Perfect float where Levin doesn't even need to lay out, doesn't need to break stride at all, just runs straight on to the disc. And that is the second goal in the end zone on a deep look for Levin. They are really carrying this momentum, I think, through this last quarter. I think they're bringing the energy. Colorado has it on their side right now, and Super Bloom knows what they need to do. They've been shutting down a lot of the swings, and now they just need to look to get in front of those deep throws because they are accurate.
That is true. We were talking about earlier what the difference would be for Alpenglow with McCarthy having gone down with injury at the end of the first half. And it looks like Levin is now stepping into that role as a deep option receiver for Alpenglow. But right now we are looking at Helton sending a massive deep shot downfield. Roziki Shaw making a fantastic effort, but that puck lands out of bounds. And now Colorado having an opportunity to tie up this game with a break chance.
Kayla Helton again there with over 1,000 receiving yards in every single season for WUL, and no receiver errors last season.
Amazing stats. Unfortunate drop there by Alpenglow, putting it back into Super Bloom's hands, and we see an assist from Neeson to Yu Ishii, and that one was definitely in.
Clearly.
Kind of like the other one. Anyway, that is a score that brings us up to 17 San Diego, Colorado 15. Still a chance for this to become a very heated back half of this fourth quarter. And here we see Neeson.
And just the quick break from Super Bloom really throwing Alpenglow off guard. They have no time to set up defense, to strategically find players, and Ishii definitely capitalizing on that quick movement. Ishii quietly dominating a lot of those upline cuts and just in the end zone space, being very quick to get in front of that player with the disc and be an open option, even if it's tight.
Very true. That is how their red zone offense works, is having those different options in the end zone space and the open space, and also the break side. Ishii really capitalizing on that. And here we have Alpenglow offense making their way down the field. Pellegrini getting it to Thorpe with a casual bid to maintain possession. Back to Nelson. Nelson looking for any downfield shots. Currently covered, but don't count them out. Back in Nelson's hands. A saggier D here on the handlers. Trying to corral these big shots from Nelson, but there is an injury for San Diego downfield. Looks like Peden is coming off the field for injury. Unsure if it was contact or not. Looks like another ankle.
Tragic with only 4 minutes left here in the last quarter. Hoping she's okay. You always hate to see the injuries happen on the field. Great support from teammates here and from fans.
And with Peden's injury, Weaver is now swapped onto the field. I don't believe I saw any personnel changes from Alpenglow as they are trying to make this a clean offensive hold. Dixon with the disc. Back to Heck. Looking at Thorpe, who gets it to Dixon. Nelson taking their time, watching the other players move the disc downfield. Pellegrini getting it to Dixon. Squirrely cut there, and now Nelson with the disc in their hands to Thorpe. Thorpe finding Ito just outside of end zone, and that is an open side score there from Pellegrini.
Wow, what a great break throw there. That, you know, that low release backhand inside from Thorpe, who turfed it the few points earlier, and this time said, no, I'm going to get that off. And it really opened up that space for that upline cut in the end zone. And here we are, 17-16, 3 minutes left. Great grab there from Nelson. Smiles, shoots it to the sideline. That inside throw from Thorpe. And then we have the disc into the end zone here for Pellegrini.
Great score there from Alpenglow. Keeping the energy up. There are a lot of great high-energy competitive players across both teams. Alpenglow making sure no one counts them out on this game, as we are just under 4 minutes left. Alpenglow pulling 16 to San Diego's 17. O'Connor with the pull. Walter immediately getting it to Bloomy. Finding Weaver. Alpenglow defense stopping the pull play, so Biles got it in the center of the field. Back to Bloomy. Ishii getting it to Walter. A lot of dishes going up here as Alpenglow pushes the cutters under. Pajuna's looking downfield, instead finding Ishii for this backhand force. Weaver scooping up right outside the end zone to Helton. And that is Yu Ishii again for the score, and a great emphatic spike there with our Discraft discs. Those discs, though, can handle a great spike. Discraft, one of our presenting sponsors.
Thank goodness, too, because we love to see a spike. Weaver here with the disc looking for options. Finds Helton on the doorstep of the end zone. Weaver clears out. And then just that slight fake to throw the open throw. The mark moves over, leaving the around clean and clear for USU to get that disc in the end zone. And that's really what Super Bloom needs here. They just need to keep staying above those 2 points, give them that buffer so that they can tell Colorado this is not their game to win, that this is Super Bloom's game to win. So we'll see if they can keep that.
Here we go. Pajunas with the pull. Dixon getting it to Nelson. We're seeing Pajunas handle 2 Alpenglow players in the deep space as Super Bloom puts on a junk defense, trying to stifle Nelson's huge shots from the backfield. Hecht getting it to Nelson. Really working through the handlers here. Dixon dropping back. Trying to get it to Nelson past that junky first line, and that throw just going too high and too wide for Nelson. Guzman picking up for Bloom a break opportunity here. Getting it to Gray. And that is a timeout call for Super Bloom.
Seems like there's a bit of a conversation going on the field. Okay, so what are you thinking this timeout is called for? What chatter is happening in both team squads here?
Well, we are now under 2 minutes left in this quarter. Point diff, again, matters. So I'm wondering if San Diego is trying, I'm assuming San Diego is trying to strategize the quickest way to get this score. Quickest way to get this score, get their D-line on, generate a break, get another point. Trying to just like spread that lead as far as they can to help their, not only securing their spot in championship weekend, but securing a better seeding for themselves. Especially over Colorado, who is already in championship weekend. So that would serve to help with the seeding as well. For Colorado, it is the opposite, right? It is either slowing. No, actually, I don't think they want to do a slow D. They want to generate a fast D because they need to catch up still. They have 2 points to catch up. 2 points to tie, and we could go into an overtime.
I forgot about that. An option I will gladly take. The more ultimate, the merrier.
Iwamoto picking up for Bloom. Trying to get it to Weaver. Off of Weaver's hands, and now a big throw there from Banis. Floating. Sevigny trying to go up for that. Not able to get around the Bloom players in the area. So Ellis is going to be picking up for Bloom on their own end zone line. Ellis getting it to Roziki Shah, who shoots for Weaver. That is too far for Weaver to track down. So Sevigny picking up, getting it to O'Connor right away. A little bit blobby downfield for Alpenglow. There is a pick called. Probably in the region where all the bodies are in the center of the field. That is Brown with the disc.
I will say Caitlin Weaver with the block in the end zone and then with the deep streak on the offensive turn, really just all over the field on this point. So we'll see if that plays out in her advantage.
Yeah, that is a player who knows how to grind. Some discussion on the field, most likely around when the disc is coming in, stalling wise. Brown is maintaining possession there. Disc is live again, getting it to O'Connor. Gets it down field to Banis. Back to O'Connor. Alpenglow trying for that quick score. Sevigny across the field. Now another call. I thought I saw a motion for a pick called. Let's take a look at that last throw. We see O'Connor on the far side.
Yeah, nice streak up line there from O'Connor, and then a great cross-field flick there. From my angle, I thought it was low, but it really floated that whole way. But it seems like the disc is now...
Oh, I think I understand what the stop was from. Is from the observers. The on-field clock was timed out to 0. Reminder, folks, for the last 2 minutes of a quarter, the clock should stop for every call. And I believe it was still running for some of those calls and timed out early. There is 54 seconds left, which means Alpenglow needs to score this quickly if they want an opportunity at overtime. Sevigny getting it up to Andrews. Super Bloom knowing that they need to score this quickly, and we see a classic Iwamoto bid to keep that disc out of Alpenglow hands, and we have just under 40 seconds left on the clock. And unfortunately, Leslie's throw blocked by Andrews. Sevigny with a big rip to the end zone. Iwamoto in the area, 84 doing her best. Havel to close that distance. Getting a little frantic here with the time on both sides.
And it's expected in times like these where the emotions are high. You have 4 seconds left. Maybe not.
I'm going to say it's more than 4 seconds just because, yeah, it's 16 seconds. The clock did run a little bit.
Got to run it back.
During one of those calls earlier.
All right, 16 seconds on the clock. Yeah, it really all comes down to this. Who's going to make the play?
16 seconds left on the clock. Super Bloom 18, Colorado 16. Rosicky Shaw getting it to Helton, to Weaver. Most of the cutters were behind the disc. Now they are in the downfield space. Helton with the disc. Finding Weaver. Weaver cutting across to the middle of the field to find Leslie, to Ellis. Ellis getting it to, trying to get it to Rosicky Shaw. And that is actually the expiration of time. We're pretty sure, yes, that is the expiration of time. So that is the end of our game, folks. That is San Diego securing their spot in championship weekend with a victory over Colorado Alpenglow, 18-16. A close game and a preview of what could be, what could happen in championship weekend. Both of these teams are going to be at championship weekend, and that is going to be in Portland, Oregon, the weekend of June 13th to 14th. You can get your tickets now if one of your teams, your favorite teams, your second favorite team, your third favorite team, because there are 3 teams now in there, any of your teams made it to championship weekend, please get your tickets for that weekend. And we will see you next time. This has been... Oh, you know what? I forgot. There's a Discraft play of the game. We will...
And we really do want to see that.
See that first before signing off.
And it's about to roll up on your screen right here.
Here's the Discraft play of the game. We see that block from Kayla Helton. It's like a little bit of a block and then a bop to herself. And then
when you're that good, why not just play?
What do you do after you get a block like that? You score.
You score. Yeah, you know.
So that will be the bookends from Kayla Helton on Super Bloom for our Discraft Play of the Game. Thank you, Discraft, one of our presenting sponsors for all of the broadcasts for the Western Ultimate League. We appreciate you spending the game with us in the booth. This has been Jory Moore for Play-by-Play.
And Sydney Horanek for your color commentary.
Have a great evening, folks. And don't forget to check out the game that is happening, I believe, right now. If you haven't already switched over to it, that is Arizona and Falcons, trying to determine if Falcons will be the fourth and final team for championship weekend.
Oh, that'll be interesting. And thank you to all our viewers tonight and to everyone and the fans and to our incredible athletes on the field who put on a wonderful performance for us all. We appreciate you.